Welcome once again, nerds, to your monthly viewer mail, shout out, all of the things shout out show. This week on the this month rather on the shout out show, Scene Queen gets in on the action with Mushroomhead to teach me just how much I truly suck. Okay, so that was a little hyperbolic. It's more... Let's just start at the start. We have to change things a little bit on the Shoutout Show now that all the two main channels rather, because there are other channels, they just don't get the same amount of love. But we are going to have to change the format slightly for the Shoutout Show, probably from here on out, because like I said, the growth has been to the point where it would be this would be like an hour-long episode of just saying thank you to specific people, which will still happen. It will just happen in a different manner. Instead of me calling you out personally and showing your tag of whichever platform you are following on or subscribed on, we're gonna do it more like a roll of credits, do a little bit of music in it so it gets a little action going. So Nerdagon situation's going to be later. He's not going to get to read it.
Hey man, you called?
No, Nerdagon, it's not, I'm not calling on you just yet. I'm just telling everybody that you're not going to be saying the names of the subscribers, kind of like we have before.
Oh boy. It has been a little while since we've done this, hasn't it? You read the names before, not me.
Oh yeah, that's right. My bad. So nothing's really going to change for the Nerdagon? Well, no, that's not entirely true either. Actually, Nerdagon's going to have a little bit less to do when it comes to the Shoutout Show from here on.
Wait, less? What the hell? I mean, come on, man. You already cut my show back to once a month, and now, what less could there be?
Well, if you would listen, you would understand. That's what I'm trying to do right now. I'm trying to explain to the viewers exactly what that means.
Okay, proceed.
Okay, thanks for giving me permission to do the thing on my show, my channel, if you will. Anyway, so the change is going to be, like I said, we're going to do all of the new subscribers and followers and such as a scroll. So we'll take a moment out and do that now.
Of our dreams, with every click and comment bursting out the side. Thank you for the power, for the passion you bestow, for being part of this journey. Together we grow, intelligent warriors with hearts and minds so free. We raise our horns high for the general nerd eye. In the comments we converse with wisdom and might, unraveling mysteries in the dead of the night. Your voices echo like thunder in the storm, building a community where ideas are born. Through every like and share, we feel your might. Your support lifts us higher into the endless night. Thank you for the power, for the passion you bestow, for being part of this journey. Together we grow, intelligent warriors with hearts and minds so free. We raise our horns high for the general nerd eye.
So thank you very much to all of those nerds who are new to the channel over the course of the last month or so. I very much appreciate all of you for coming around, and for whatever reason it was. There are two channels. This is the Clips channel. Primarily, this channel is the secondary, where you're going to be getting the news, but it's going to be after the fact. Whereas the main channel, we usually have one long episode that has all of the news, and then that's what gets cut into clips for this channel. So some differences from that, variances I guess is more appropriate, is the main channel is where all the reaction content goes, and this channel is where this shout out show goes. And then there's going to be I have a couple other ideas brewing potentially for this channel, but if this momentum continues, it'll happen sooner rather than later. But as it stands right now, this is all I've really got the time for. Also, there's another show on the main channel called That Just Happened, which is reviews for lazy people. Really, it's just I am a one-man show, so I can't get around to consuming all of the content as it's released, unfortunately. Some things I get to pretty quickly, like I just watched Deadpool, so next week's That Just Happened, which technically is still late to the game by the comparison to most other media channels, but next week we will be talking about Deadpool and Wolverine. There's actually quite a long list of things that happened over the course of the last 2 weeks that we've been gone, and technically, I guess it's been 3 weeks. I'm not going to get into the weeds on that one, but so there is going to be a proper news show next week on the main channel, as well as a proper That Just Happened next week on the main channel. This show that you're watching now, the Shout Out Show, this is how I interact with the community more directly. So if you've left me a comment, if you've said something on any of the other social medias, really X is the one that I'm the most active on aside from YouTube. If you left a comment, if you've subscribed and you have your settings set to public, that is how I can see that you have subscribed. So if you have your settings set to private, it's totally kosher. I'm not asking you to change your ways, but you can't get a shout out because I don't see your name when you have subscribed to me on the YouTubes. I only see the number gets bigger, which is a good feeling as well, but I would much rather at least roll your name in the credits, as it seems that's where we are at with the growth right now. So the other change here is there has been a dearth of comments over the course of the last month. I kind of saw this part coming when we made the format change to monthly, in that I'm not going to be able to respond in video to all of the comments like I used to when we were doing this once a week-ish. Instead, I'm going to try and get like a breadth of, there's themes. These comments come in themes, especially when it's on specific videos, because certain things in the news stand out and are more reactive. People react more to certain things. One of the big ones over the course of the last month was the Mushroomhead situation in the music news. Got a whole lot of viewer reaction, and then the Mushroomhead reaction video got a little bit of action as well. So I'm trying to group the themes together. There is one big theme this month with the comments, and it apparently has to do with me not doing enough research, but we'll get into how I feel about those comments and how the way I've responded to those people in text. There is some good stuff in here too. It's not all just people calling me a jerk, though I do appreciate the good stuff. That seems to be less, what is the word? It seems to be less motivating for people to watch if I'm only talking about this guy likes me and that guy likes me and that girl likes me and that person over there likes. Nobody wants to watch that. They want to see me respond to the people who have negative things to say, which I understand. It's kind of the way of social media anymore. So I am rambling a little bit.
Yeah, I'll say you're rambling.
Thank you very much, Nerdagon, for your 2 cents. But let's get into these comments so I can stop rambling and start addressing the comments section and ramble about that stuff. All right. So this week we're going to, I've grouped these in a couple of different groups. The first one is going to be very specifically about Deadpool. So as a means to avoid spoilers, because I know not everybody has seen it yet, though everybody should see it as soon as they can and on as big a screen as you can. But yeah, I will try to avoid spoilers because there is some spoilery stuff associated with this. And yeah, so let's get into it. The actual comment we're going to be reading, though I will address some of the other ones in the comment section for that video in the response to this. The actual comment we're reading comes from Zachary Miller, and this was actually almost a month ago, so close to when the last shout out show happened. It was the Batman rumor. There was a Batman rumor that he was going to be in the Deadpool Wolverine movie, and I put that at like 20-something% likely, because they're not going to cross production houses. Like, DC is not going to appear in Marvel as far as movies go. Maybe they'll do it again in comics. They kind of just did do it again in comics, but again, I'm rambling. Let's do this. This comment comes from Zachary Miller, and Zachary says,
all of your percentages don't match what you're saying at all. Also, you called Deadpool Daredevil.
Okay, so I did address this in text in the comment section, but I feel like it's something that should be addressed to the channel as a whole, to the audience as a whole. When I do the percentages for likelihood for the rumors, it's a different preparation process. Doing those percentages is while I'm still in research mode, and then coming up to the studio to record the actual videos is a completely different headset. Something that I have touched on a couple of times in my responses, both in video and in text, is I'm a long time diagnosed ADHD, have been since I was very young. So I tend to go off on tangents. Weird, right? And I also get very excited about the possibility of some of those rumors. Though when I'm in my more analytical mindset, that puts me in a situation of looking at the actual, the elements surrounding a rumor. So it's two different brains, right? So I have my analytical brain saying, well, this is really how likely this is. And then when I get up to talk about it, it's like, oh, this is a really cool rumor and I would be really excited if it, and then I get to the note that says, but it's only 30% likely. It kind of kills the excitement a little bit, but I've already got the excitement out. And so, yeah, I get very excited about some of the things and want to talk about them more, even though they're not super likely. Sometimes it's a good conversation starter, which is one of the reasons why I do the YouTube channels to begin with. Sometimes it's just really fun to consider the more philosophical sometimes it's just more fun to consider the philosophical implications. For whatever reason, I tend to focus on certain rumors regardless of how likely they are. I have been trying to do better with the notes, because I try in my notes to myself, because I usually just copy paste the notes as the video descriptions. So I try and get a little bit better with my notes and give reasons why to myself in those notes so that I can have that as talking points. But I don't take great notes for this stuff because it's just stuff that I'm passionate about. So I retain a certain amount of information. I do have some stuff written on this page in front of me, and then I'm just shooting from the hip because I'm trying to start a conversation. So yeah, the percents sometimes don't match how excited I am about certain things. It just happens. And then the other half of that comment, I called Deadpool Daredevil. I think it was just the once. And you know, when I go through the editing process, that stuff kind of tends to happen from time to time because, like I said, just kind of, oh, shiny. And words just come out. I try to address it. I'll correct myself if I catch it when I'm recording, or if I catch it when I'm editing, I'll put it up on text on the screen, so for those people who only listen to the show, you're probably not hearing those corrections, but sometimes they slip through and they make it up to the show and I haven't made the correction. So I do apologize for that. And if it's ever pointed out to me, I will A, bring it here to the shout out show and say, thank you very much for calling me out on the thing. And B, if it's something very egregious, then I will do it in the next news episode as a correction. That is how I begin each section of the news, is with follow-ups and corrections. I don't generally have a whole lot of corrections, largely because a lot of people don't really call me out like this. So And I also don't always get those corrections because, like I said, once a thing has been addressed in my head, it no longer exists. So I do try and do good things with the corrections. I know poor grammar is a thing. I don't always get to it. I'm not perfect. If you guys would continue to keep calling me out when it happens, I will honestly be super appreciative. I love being corrected. I love when the proper information gets out. And yeah, so that we're going to kind of come back to this in the third point, but that's got to do with shorts and things. So let's move on to the second point. We have 3 comments to read for point number 2. So the first one comes from these are reaction videos. So the first one comes from the Tom McDonald reaction video, the most recent Tom McDonald reaction video. The second one comes from the most recent Mushroomhead reaction video. And then the third one comes from the Scene Queen reaction video. So, Nerdagon, if you would please read the comment from Looney Tube from the Tom McDonald video. And then over on the Mushroomhead video, we have Christopher Campbell Srixby's SR6BS. I don't know what that means. And then also the comment from Liam Sheen 5629. We're going to address all 3 of those comments once, Nerdagon does the thing.
Looney Tube. More like Booty Tube. Am I right? Sorry, I'll do the thing. I found this late in the game, but just in case nobody explained the every liberal is right bar to you, I will. He doesn't mean right as in opposite of wrong, he means politically. If every white man is racist, then every liberal is right. And since we all know that isn't true, I think you can read between the lines from here. Maybe do your research on members and know the names. It's Scott Beck in the dummy mask. For someone who's calling themselves nerdy, you really haven't understood a thing about Scene Queen. Or maybe you just lack the keen eye to know what her music is about. Boo for you!
All right, so the Tom McDonald one from Looney Tube. This one I put in here because this happens fairly frequently in reaction videos, very specifically, in that because I do reaction videos cold, I go to great lengths to not listen to the music before I record the video. Oftentimes it's hard because generally we react to metal videos and I listen to a lot of metal music, so if it's the new single and I haven't listened to it, it's probably going to get played on Sirius XM. It's probably going to get played. It's suggested to me a million times in the YouTube feed. Sometimes when I let my YouTube just continuously play, it happens to start playing, and so I have to, stop whatever I'm doing and stop it from playing. So I go to great lengths to make sure they are proper reaction videos. I know a lot of channels on YouTube don't actually do a proper reaction video. So, as such, I often, when I'm flying by the seat of my pants, certain things happen. I get diarrhea of the mouth and I just start to say things. But also, I don't have a proper amount of research into this particular artist because I'm reacting as cold as possible. I have done a number of Tom McDonald reaction videos before, I think 2 or 3 before this one. I probably will not be reacting to Tom McDonald again, not for any real reason other than the fact that I just like to listen to the singles as soon as it drops because that helps him in the long run more than it would help me to do a reaction video immediately. So yeah, that's one of the biggest reasons, but the other reason is I don't in genres that I'm not an extra active participant, namely anything outside of the metal scene, I don't really have the same frame of reference in a lot of ways, and I don't really know a lot about the artist aside from I just really like their music. I don't follow Tom McDonald outside of his releases, aside from when he does his big pushes to try and do the Billboard thing and get on the charts and et cetera, et cetera. Same goes for even Eminem. I've been a fan of Eminem since the Slim Shady LP, and I couldn't tell you when his next record was supposed to come out. Like it was kind of a surprise to me when the most recent Eminem record dropped, because I am not a part of that community. When new music happens that I enjoy in that community, I'll talk about it, but I'm not anticipating it. Therefore, you know, I don't spend a lot of time researching reaction videos. I think it's kind of a waste of time. I know enough about music to have an educated opinion about the music that is presented to me. I know enough about video production to have an educated opinion about the video that is presented to me, that for me to waste my time with the particulars of each artist seems extra, and there's a million other channels on YouTube that get into those particulars, and I'm just not one of them. I'm more worried about the music than I am about who the artist is and what they stand for. So, that being said, stuff like that tends to fall through the cracks, where he makes there's another set of comments in that comment section about how I thought it was kind of weird that he's very anti-commercialism, but he's wearing some Louis Vuitton sunglasses in that video. And then a number of people have corrected me saying, well, those are probably fakes, because he has said in interviews previously that anytime he wears that stuff, the grill, all the chains, it's always cheap knockoffs. And I've never seen those interviews because I don't watch interviews with Tom MacDonald. I think I watched the Jordan Peterson interview, but I don't even think I finished that. I probably watched like 20 minutes of it and was like, yeah, that's kind of what I was expecting, and then moved on. So, but that also brings up the fact that a number of people in comment sections like to repeat other comments. I know it's not on you to do homework for my channel, I get that, but I feel like it behooves us as a community, or anyone who is jumping in just for the video, to read the rest of the comments, especially because sometimes it's comments like the Orville Peck video still gets stuff like this. Because I called out a spot in the Orville Peck song, the studio recording, there is a little bit of auto-tune. I still stand by the fact that there is auto-tune on that Orville Peck track. And, you know, a number of other things. There was an audio ducking issue in the Run the Jewels song that I did a reaction to. It happens. Go watch the Mushroomhead video. There's audio ducking in there. Professionals have issues with compression just like the amateurs do. So like, it's not the end of the world if I hear something that is on the track that you don't hear, or that the producer who made the track didn't hear. Like, you don't know that they didn't hear it. Maybe they didn't think it was that big of a deal. Like that's that. And I'm pretty sure I call that kind of stuff out when I do those reactions. So just read the rest of the comments and see that somebody's probably already, especially if it's an old video, like the Orville Peck song, the Orville Peck reaction video is like 2 years old at this point, and I'm still getting those comments. The Run the Jewels one, I think, died. This, what was it? There was Tom MacDonald, sorry. This Tom MacDonald video is, I think, 3 or 4 months old, so that comment section is starting to die out a little bit as well. So yeah, somebody's probably already, and this person, to their credit, says, you know, I found this late in the game, so here is what he means by the liberals are right thing. Yeah, somebody's already corrected me. I appreciate the correction. I'm not telling you not to correct me, but read a little bit into the comment section and see if you can add to the conversation, or if you're just there trying to be a jerk. What was the second one? The second one was the Mushroomhead one. This guy's talking about research for the names of the members. Again, I don't do research for reaction videos. I might do a little bit of a history of the artist, just because that's one of the sections of a research or of a reaction video. Is I like to familiarize myself with where they're coming from if it's somebody that I have reacted to more than once. The first time I react to an artist, I'll talk about how I got introduced to the artist and why I wanted to do the reaction to that particular song. If it's the second time, then I'll probably go into like the Wikipedia real basic synopsis of their history as an artist. And if I do a third reaction to an artist, then I'll go into my history with that artist, like when I found them as a kid or whenever it was, and you know how much I have appreciated or not appreciated their outings in previous or if it's an older band that's been around for a while, that's a new release, I'll do something similar to that. So yeah, I don't, other than who they were, where they came from, I don't really do research into a reaction video. This one specifically, it's Mushroomhead. There are 8 members. When Mushroomhead is a full band, there was at one point 9 members of Mushroomhead. Usually, throughout most of their history, I guess is probably more appropriate, there are 8 members of Mushroomhead. And they have such a revolving door over the course of the last 3 or 4 records that for me to know exactly who was on each song is like, I would have to be a die-hard Mushroomhead fan and listen to nothing but Mushroomhead, and this is called generally nerdy, not Mushroomhead nerdy. I love Mushroomhead. I'm trying to actively get an interview with their former lead singer Jeffrey Nothing to address some of the issues in some of these other videos. We'll get to that. But aside from that, like, I honestly was expecting J-Man to be on the new record. So the fact that J-Man wasn't there, the fact that Stitch isn't on the new record, that was brand new to me, and the record's about to come out. So, like, I don't know what to tell you. And then the third one, this will bring us into our third point, but the third for the reaction video section is the Scene Queen one. This is one that I get from time to time. It's themed with, well, you call yourself nerdy, but you don't understand X about my favorite artist. I wish I don't do research for shout out shows either, aside from putting together the comments, right, and the new subscribers. I don't do research into how I'm going to respond to you. I think that would be totally false as well. But so if you understand what a nerd is, somebody who gets obsessed, who gets very deep into a certain thing. You can be nerdy for anything. You can literally, like, you can be a football nerd, like a nerdy jock. That is a thing that exists. If you know somebody who plays many, what are they, fantasy football leagues, if they're in multiple fantasy football leagues, I would say they are a football nerd. I don't care how much football they themselves play, that's a nerdy thing to do. You're keeping track of stats. It's just, you're breaking the game down to a level that the casual viewer, the casual fan, doesn't break it down to. They're not nerdy about it like you are. That's not a bad thing. That's one of the reasons why I started the channels, is to kind of destigmatize the word. It's not that it has this crazy stigma anymore in modern culture, but when I was a kid, it was a very stigmatic thing. You did not want to be called a nerd. I have always been okay with the term because I'm totally cool with being into things that make me nerdy. So the fact that I don't like your favorite artist or an artist that you're really into, maybe she's not your favorite, but does not make me not nerdy. If there's something that I'm missing as far as her messaging goes, I don't see how that makes me not nerdy either. I think you're reading more into her messaging than is actually there. You're seeing the things that she says you should see in her messaging, and not seeing that really it's just vapid emptiness that she's talking about, and there's no substance there. But that's just me. I'm not a fan. I said it many times in the reaction video. I've listened to that song and a different song that she released at about the same time. I did that reaction video to that song, and I listened to the other song so I would have some idea of who the artist was. And that's about as nerdy as I got into it, because I am a fan, I'm a pretty big fan of the genre that she is purported to be a part of. I do not agree with her association with the metalcore genre. I do not think she should be qualified as metalcore. I think more appropriately, and the bimbo core thing, we're not even going to get into that because you can't give yourself a nickname. But I think more appropriately, if you're looking at the style of her music and the delivery, the instrumentation and her lyrics and everything, she's more nu metal than metalcore. She is nu metal. She's rapping over those guitars. That's one of the telltale signs of nu metal right there. So yeah, there's just a lot about that artist that I think that is not for me, I guess is the most political way to end that. But yeah, so let's move into the next one. This one is on a short video, so we're going to address some shorts. This one, though, is from a really old video, which we're going to address the issues around that as well. But this one comes from a really old short that when Interview with the Vampire was initially announced, actually when, I can't think of the actor's name now that plays Louis, when he was announced to be playing Louis. That's what this short comes from. So it's pretty old at this point because season 2 of this show just ended. So it's that. Nerdagon, take it away. This comment comes from Shan0997. Nerdagon, if you please.
And I do, please. The fact that you seem to be criticizing and can't even pronounce the character's name properly. It's Louis, not Lewis.
Again, we return to the idea that ADHD tends to do weird things with the way I speak. I've known his name is Louis since I read Interview with the Vampire like 20 years ago. That was a big brain fart that apparently I didn't catch at any stage in the game. For whatever reason, I don't know exactly, because this video is like 3 years old at this point. So where my head was at when I was editing and recording this video, I really don't know. But yes, I know his name is Louis. I do plenty of research. I do plenty of research to that end. I do look into the things, and I'm a fan of these books. So yes, it's something that is known. I just kind of, I don't know, spaced something. I was reading my notes and not paying attention to the words coming out of my mouth, something along those lines. The other part of this is me being critical of a thing that you think I don't understand because I'm mispronouncing the name. Well, let's go through a couple of things with that. One is plenty of people read names and never hear them out loud. So there are people exist whose names are Lewis, who spell them L-O-U-I-S. That is a way to spell Lewis. It's not a very common way to spell Lewis, but it is a way to spell Lewis. So, I mean, I can still be critical of a thing, even if my whole life I've never heard Louis' name pronounced out loud. I've only read it in the books, and to my ear, to my mental ear, I was hearing it as Lewis. I can still be critical of the thing. Like that's a bogus point to make. There was somewhere else I was going with that, and I don't remember where. Yeah, I don't remember. Whatever. If I can think of it, I'll probably just edit it back in. But otherwise, let's move on. Oh, shorts. That's where we were going. Shorts. Yeah, it escapes me again. So I got nothing. Let's move on. Sorry. Again, with the words and the not preparing in ways that would, I don't know, whatever. Let's continue on. So the next one is actually about, this comes from the drama videos with the Mushroomhead stuff from a couple weeks ago. I did the initial drama video, and then I did the update with the behind the scenes going on with Mushroomhead as far as I understood it at the time. This one comes from Pat, and yeah, there's just a little bit of something here.
At Nerd News Clips. I looked it up, and according to Reddit, take that for what it's worth, Jeff deleted all talks about it. Maybe Skinny found out and he put a stop to it, but I hope Jeff pushes on. I'd love to see the old members start their own band. To me, that would be the new Mushroomhead, regardless of what they called themselves.
Okay, so this is a news show. I think it should be, or generally speaking, that's not how that was set before. That's better. So this is a news show, generally speaking. What I do mostly is news. I was contacted recently by somebody who was trying to get me to take down the videos because I referenced this whole situation, and that's not gonna happen. Not for the least of which reason being, this is a tiny channel, and like, who's paying attention to this instead of the actual music news? And when this becomes a real thing, if it becomes a real thing, then that will be covered in much larger news press and whatever. But I am trying to, you know, if anything ever comes out of this, I am trying to get interviews around this, which kind of brings me to another point for things that reasons why I was including these in today's episode, and that is because I reference things that I'm trying to get done behind the scenes a lot, and sometimes for whatever reason, I can't get it done. I'm actively pursuing a number of interviews right now because the place that I've been the most successful at getting interviews has been a convention in the state I live in that no longer exists. And so that kind of really killed the interview portions of what I do. And so getting that going on my own, while I have been successful to a certain degree, I did get, press coverage for an Atreyu concert. I've done other interviews with other creators, I guess. The Lawrence McNaughton interview I really don't know how I got that one. I think that was a byproduct of Comic-Con, of Denver Comic-Con, but I don't know that for certain. I just know I was contacted by his publicist, and that's how that one came about. Other conventions that I have been to also have been fairly have been fairly successful, I guess is a way to put that, with getting interviews at those. But it's hard to take the time off of the day job in order to go to conventions. I love it. I think the convention lifestyle is great. If I could turn that into something that was more lucrative as far as like me being able to pay my bills, then we would do it a lot more often. But as it stands right now, it's just not in the cards, probably for another year at least. So interviews will be happening. With whom remains to be seen. I don't want to give those away, because if I say who I'm actively pursuing and then I don't actually get the interview, I've had that happen a number of times, and it's not a good feeling. I get fans of this person. Specifically, I can't even think of the guy's name now. He was on Leverage, and he's done a couple of other more nerdy things that I can't remember. Maybe one of the Stargate series. He was at a convention that I was at, and I was promised that if he took interviews, I would be one of those interviews, and he did not take interviews. And so I had his fan community giving me ideas for questions that I could ask him in an interview, because I think that's a really good way of interacting with the community, the overlap of my community and these creators, actors, artistic types, their communities. I think that's a fun way to, get some interaction going. So, but until it's set in stone, I'm just not going to announce whose interviews I'm actively pursuing. So when I say a name, then I've got something on the books saying that they have said they will do the interview. But until then, they're just mystery interviews. So that's kind of why I left that one in. And then let's move on, I guess. Point 5 was... this has to do with OBS. This is technically more on the reaction stuff, but it's how I record the reactions. So this one comes from the Kovacs and Till reaction for their song Child of Sin. The comment comes from, I'm gonna assume it's Yop Peelen, because it's a German person, so I'm going on the assumption, I think, that is a German name. But either way, let's get into it. Nerdagon, please.
Please do disable your compression. It rapes the song or any song. Sing for your gating.
Okay, so I record my reaction videos. I do the live show whenever I'm live. I do this through OBS as well, but I seem to have less issues with it when I'm doing live because I use less scenes in the live setting. But when I'm doing a reaction video, I'm usually doing it through OBS as well. And I have not been able to figure out why it does this. I've since kind of tamed it a little bit, so hopefully the most recent batch of reaction videos are not quite so bad when it comes to this stuff. I mean, being an audio guy, you would think I'd be able to figure this out, but I'm also an audio guy with zero extra time on my hands to kind of do these kinds of things. So when we get to the off season, I don't always have as much time as I want to work out all of the tiny little kinks. But for whatever reason, from one scene to the next, and this is through the last 3 iterations of OBS, so I don't know why this happens, but it does still happen. I think I've kind of rooted it out to a certain degree, but still don't understand the coding behind it. But from one scene to the next, some of my plugins react differently. For a long time, I completely had to avoid a certain scene that I have set up in my OBS because the compression, it's the same audio source, so it's all of the same filters. So there's no real explanation for why this happened. I can't figure it out. I just honestly ended up just deleting the scene and remaking it. But the compression, the audio compression that I have just on my voice in general for that scene was off the scale, was so bad it was like distorting, and I don't know what the hell happened. So certain things overact in certain scenes, and then when I take it into the, what do I use, Premiere after the fact, and I have to play with levels there, then that kind of does things too. I will admit, yes, I did go a little crazy with the noise gate, but there was a reason for that. I use for the live stuff not the greatest microphone, just because I can't afford a good live mic when I have other things that are taking more priority with the channel. So I use a mediocre mic for that, which when there's any kind of background noise, like, it kind of messes with my audio. So I set my gate fairly high because for a long time I was doing live shows while my girlfriend was in the same room watching movies. So to kind of keep the two separate, and I didn't want to get a copyright strike, I turned the gate up fairly high. When that stopped happening, when she stopped watching movies while I was going live, I never fixed the gate because I wasn't hearing it for whatever reason. I take that back. I was hearing it, but every time I was like, oh crap, I need to fix that in OBS next time I start OBS. By the time I started OBS again, not anywhere between my ears. I wasn't thinking of the audio issues because, again, I have a tendency to forget things. So yeah, I've rooted out most of the audio issues with the OBS situation, so it should be fine going forward. But again, any other audio techs out there, if you hear something in any of my stuff, I know sometimes I have those little hiccups. There was another hiccup in a pre-recorded show that wasn't through OBS a couple months ago where the audio was just super low for some reason. I think I skipped a step when I was doing the audio for that episode or something because I couldn't really figure it out. And by the time I had found that there was an issue, half of the episode was already posted to YouTube. So it was kind of start over from scratch and lose whatever momentum I had, or just let it go, and I just chose to let it go. So, but I did get called out on that, and I do appreciate, I don't remember who it was, but we talked about it in the shout out show that happened shortly after. There was something else with this one. Nope, that was everything.
Oh, and speaking of millions of subs, well, that's where you come in. That's right, you can help the channel out by subscribing, telling your friends, you know, those kind of things. Share it. Tell your grandma. I gotta go. Okay, bye.
All right, let's move on to the next point. The next point, oh, this is the final point. We're coming to the end of this episode. This is the good stuff. These are the people who are doing the thing. So with every shout out show, I make it known that if you have your settings set to private, then the only way for me to give you a shout out on the show is if you make a comment. You have to leave a comment on a video. And so at least one of these I think is that, but the other two I think are just people legitimately showing an appreciation for what I'm doing here. So I wanted to highlight that stuff. So we've got these comments come from, we have the Assassin's Creed historical fiction from Gaming and Tech about a month and a half ago. We have IOSA Live left that comment, and then we have this is a music episode from about a month ago. It's the Ronnie Radke one. That one comes from Cube Universal, and then we have the Wonder Woman one from just a few weeks ago. That comment comes from AHS Tinfix SNHC 9765. That's a mouthful right there. So these are all the good ones. Nerdagon, let's hear some praise for us, shall we?
Nerd News Clips, this is great. I liked it and subscribed. Well, thank you. Do you think they know they spelled universal wrong? Cool news format. I will definitely check out this every week. AHS 9765. This seems like a channel that should have millions of subs. WTH.
Thank you very much, nerds. I appreciate the enthusiasm. I have been getting those kind of comments much more recently of late. So I've actually, strangely enough, and I say that because it really blows me away when people say this, and when somebody like the AHS person 9765, when they say this channel seems like it should have millions of subs, like I've heard a couple of other people say, I was expecting this to be a giant channel. What the hell's going on? I'm super, super flattered that people enjoy what I do here and think that I have a team behind me, or think that I should have a team behind me at least. So yeah, I think I should have a team as well. It would make my job a lot easier. I would be much less stressed and get plenty of sleep. But I do appreciate you nerds. Any comments, critical, supportive, or otherwise, I welcome them all. There are certain videos that I think this should be addressed as well. There are certain videos that are verboten. I will not address the comments section, although I've mentioned them, at least one of them in this video a number of times. I will not address specific comments from the comments section of a few of the videos on either channel. The content is so old at this point, like it's irrelevant to the current conversation. B, it just turned on, in one instance, even though somebody tried to say I was getting ratioed, and I don't think they understand what that means. There was too many people trying for gotcha moments. There were too many people trying to be keyboard tough guys, and just nothing productive was coming out of the conversation anymore. So I just put the just stop. We're not going to talk about this anymore. This comment section needs to die. So those happen from time to time. I think there are, through both of the channels, I think there are 3, maybe 4 videos that I just won't address the comment section anymore. And it is what it is. So I will, once a video is verboten, I will address it. This is the last comment we're ever going to be addressing from this video, etc., here on the Shoutout Show. So if you're interested, then yeah, go check out previous shows, because that's a thing with the Shoutout. I don't know. I appreciate you, nerds. Look me up on the socials. Like I said, usually the most active I am outside of YouTube is on X, and that's because there are a number of sources I have on X for the news show, so I will be on there from time to time reposting other people's stuff or adding my 2 cents to a rumor or a news piece or what have you. Or just sharing AI stuff. Sometimes I get creative with the AI imaging and music and stuff, and I want to just post a couple of things because I think they're cool. So if you're interested in that kind of casual use, then by all means, befriend me on the X. Otherwise, yeah, I appreciate you guys for sticking around. Oh, nope, we talked about that. Okay, so never mind. Let's finish this out. I will see you nerds next week over on the main channel. We will be doing the regularly scheduled news show, and then that show will find its way over here in bits and pieces on the Clips channel. And I have a couple of other things hopefully in the works as well, but if I say too much about them and they don't actually happen, then people will get grumpy, so we're just gonna leave it at that. I appreciate your faces, nerds. Come back and see me every time you get bored, lonely, or just want to call me a jerk. I appreciate it. We'll get to you next time. Before we go, always remember that if it's generally nerdy, it's probably here, and I'm gonna shout you out.
Verdant pathway spreading, connection locked, siphoning the currents of esoteric delight. No firewall can sever us from generally nerdy's light.